Welcome back to Next Shift with Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. This is morning after the New Year, where the Montreal Canadiens won their final game of 2024 against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. It was a 3-2 victory after playing their third game in 4 nights against some of the top teams in the NHL and some of the last Stanley Cup champions. They were fortunate enough to beat the Florida Panthers 4-0 with Jacob Dobich in nets and Dach scoring a couple of goals. Then the next day they took on the Tampa Bay Lightning and won 5-2 on a great outing by the entire team. It was a solid team effort. And then last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, the Montreal Canadiens took on the Golden Knights, the number one ranked team in the NHL and the Stanley Cup champions 2 years ago, and beat them 3-2 after falling behind 2-0. The Montreal Canadiens started off a little bit flat, which could be expected. They time zone change at 12 p.m. start, Las Vegas, New Year's Eve. But they were able to kind of get their legs under them second part of the first period, and then they proceeded to give up a late goal in the end of the first period. They had the Dach line out for both of those goals. Unfortunately, Kirby Dach was probably the catalyst to both goals against. On the first goal, he gave up a turnover in the offensive zone. In the second goal, and it came back to haunt him, he didn't quite get back to the guy that ended up scoring the goal. Him and Newhook were back checking on the play. And unfortunately, they scored with, not the greatest of goals, but they scored. And then in the second goal, the Montreal Canadiens had the puck in their own end. Patrick Laine kind of got muscled off the puck and turned it over. Kirby Dach, instead of trying to changing from offense to defense, kind of stayed on the wall, or at least found himself a little bit too far away from the ultimate player who scored the goal, and he wasn't able to pick up the weak side defender and give up the second goal. That being said, turned the page into the second period, and in fact the first half of the second period, Las Vegas took it to the Montreal Canadiens, and that's when Montembeault definitely stood on his head and made some key saves. And later on in the second period, an outstanding goal by the first line, where there was some good forecheck in the offensive zone. Ultimately, the puck was turned over and stopped by Slafkovsky, who hit Suzuki towards the face-off dot, who then, in lieu of shooting, found Caufield on the back door with a beautiful one-time pass and one-timer that no goalie could stop. It was a great goal by the first line, as well as ultimately turned the page and turned the tides for the Montreal Canadiens. I think after that goal, you can see they believed they had a chance to win the game. They proceeded to go into the third period down 2-1. The Montreal Canadiens got a great goal, a hard-working goal by Emil Heineman. That's his 9th of the year, third in the NHL rookie scoring goals. It was a deflection off of David Savard's shot that turned into a rebound, and he picked up the rebound and potted it home to make it 2-2. And then the third goal to make it 3-2 for Montreal was scored by Kirby Dach. It was a great defensive play by Josh Anderson, who blocked a shot, got the puck up to Dach, turned it into a 2-on-1. Kirby Dach attempted to pass it over to Patrick Laine. I think everyone thought it was going to go over to Patrick Laine, including the goalie who let the puck in. It kind of found its way between the goalie, Aiden Hills' legs, and Kirby Dach scored the goal. Turned out to be the game winner. It was still plenty of time in the game, and what I think, again, has been the most impressive part of the Montreal Canadiens in the last 3 games, and actually probably the last 6 or 7 games, has been their ability to shut down the other team in the third period. So once the Montreal Canadiens took the lead, there were some opportunities, and Montembeault stood on his head on a couple of key stops, especially towards the end of the third period. But all in all, the Montreal Canadiens are playing a much more mature defensive game in the neutral zone and in the defensive zone that is turning into wins against some tough teams. So the Montreal Canadiens took 3 of 3 on this recent road trip after Christmas break. I will be the first one to admit I didn't think they'd win all 3. I was hopeful they'd win 2. I was expecting them to win 1. And even that would have been, how do I put this? If they lost all 3, I wouldn't be totally surprised. So they've shown me something in the last 3 games. I mean, like I said from the beginning of the year, I think they would be in the mix. Last year they were 76 points. I was calling them to get around 85 points. I'm still not too much off of that, although if this version of the Montreal Canadiens can continue on the way they are, they can avoid the injury bug. I'm this team might be in the mix for real. I'm not talking about a Stanley Cup contender, but a team that could definitely fight for the wild card spot and maybe slip their way in. The game against Las Vegas proved something to me. I think the first 2 games they had, not to say anything against, the first game was against Florida, who wasn't quite playing that great. Tampa was missing Gensel. Vegas was missing Barbashev, but again, this was a tough road win. Kudos to the Montreal Canadiens. Kudos to the first line for starting it. Kudos for Dach for making up for his 2 mistakes and getting an important goal. And Heineman just plugging away in that fourth line, continuing their streak of getting goals and pluses for their team. The next couple of games are against Chicago and Colorado, Friday and Saturday. Chicago, we'll see who goes in nets. At this point, Dobish needs to play one of those 2 games. I'll be interested to see who they play. There's a combination of, sea level games in Chicago versus mile high elevation games in Colorado. Coaches will look at statistics and analytics to see which goalie could perform better in maybe the high altitude. That could be an effect. It could also be, who they think they can beat more with which goalie. I think Montembeault will get first shot at who he wants to play. I wouldn't be surprised if Montembeault plays against Chicago and then Dobish plays in Colorado, but it could go the other way around. Either way, I'm looking at a split. I'm hoping I believe the Montreal Canadiens should win Friday night. Chicago is coming off of a winter classic game, and they're basically looking to they'll probably be a little bit tired and a little bit not ready for that game, but we'll see. And the Montreal Canadiens are playing incredible hockey right now. So Friday night looks like promising for the Montreal Canadiens, which could be a dagger. This team is still young. They can make mistakes. They can, they have to keep that pedal on the metal. We'll see how it goes. Saturday night is a much more difficult game. It's a back-to-back game within 23 hours of the first game. And they have to fly to Colorado that night, and Colorado will have rested because they're playing Thursday night. So if they can win both of those games, that would be, again, I would be completely impressed, and this team is definitely in the mix. Even if they win one of 2, I think they're in the mix. If they lose both of these games, it would be disappointing. The first game is really important, and that's why I think Montembeault might start. But again, Dobish has played well in his one game, and I'm going to leave it obviously to the coaching staff to make that decision. I'm not the decider on that one. But all in all, I believe the team has turned the corner from a defensive side of the puck, especially in the neutral zone and in the defensive zone, and they're getting the 4 lines are just plugging away. So kudos to the Montreal Canadiens. Great couple of weeks, and actually they've been playing good for a month or a month and a half. As you guys know, I've not been off of that bandwagon of Martin St. Louis, Kirby Dach. Obviously, I was negative towards him, but I think knowing I've had the same surgery he's had, so knowing the surgery, knowing how long it takes to come back, I wasn't anywhere to the level of Kirby Dach, but I did play Division I hockey and tore up my knee, and in junior, and basically. It took me a good year and a half to skate the same way I was. And so I'm not, I'm watching Kirby turn the corner a little bit, which is great with his confidence. He still made a couple of important mistakes last game. He has to fix that. And that might be a challenge long-term for Kirby Dach because, that's hockey IQ. That's not legs. But let's see how it goes. It's a learning moment, and I'm sure he'll figure out that part of the game, the defensive side of the puck. That's it for me. Look forward to the game. I'm calling a victory in Chicago. We'll wait till after that to decide if they're going to win in Colorado. I think it's going to be a split of the two games. We'll see. Again, I also called the fact that I thought they were going to lose. I thought they were going to lose against Las Vegas. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope they win both games. That's it for next shift. That's it for Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. Looking forward to the rest of the weekend. Bye.